What's up, guys? Eli here, back for a new stuff video. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I've accumulated over the last couple weeks. So much that I'm going to break it up into two videos, which I don't think I've ever done. So I'm going to do one with music and one with movies, and I think I'm going to do something cool. Since I collect, mostly horror movies, I think I'm going to do that video on Halloween Day. I think that'll be kind of fun. So, music today. All different random stuff, CDs and a couple vinyl records. And if I have time at the end of this video or after I show all the music, I'm gonna start showing my T-shirts again. So I've already shown all my black metal shirts, so I'm gonna start doing death metal. And yeah, if this video doesn't run too long after I show all the music, I think I might do that. So I have 10 that I picked out, and yeah, it would only take a few minutes. So anyway, we'll get started. These are in no order whatsoever, I don't think. So we have this. This was a random find at local record store. I have known of this band, but I didn't know about this release or anything like that. And it's pretty cool. This came out on Corpse Gristle. So it is Flesh Grind, a U.S. kind of brutal death metal band. They've been around since the early 90s. And this is just a compilation of their two demos, or at least their first two demos. So, yeah, show that again. It's called Demo Days, artwork by John Zig. So what you have on this is you have the Sorrow Breeds Hatred demo and the Holy Pedophile demo. Louis, go lay down. So, yeah, I'll show that in memory of Rich Lipscomb, who died earlier this year. And yeah, those are the original tape demo covers. There's the back. It's a pretty flimsy digipack, but it's still pretty cool. I paid $5 for it, so if you can also get it for $5, I mean, why not? I always thought Fleshground were a pretty cool band, so haven't heard them in a long time. Here's a new release. This just came out like a week ago or so. I was kind of debating whether or not I would buy this, but I mean, I think ultimately I knew I was going to, and I have not listened to it yet. I'm not going to put any kind of expectations on it. I think I don't expect it to blow me away, but I think I'll get at least some enjoyment out of it. We have the debut album from KKs Priest, Sermons of the Sinner. As you're probably aware, KK Downing from Judas Priest, he was an original member, guitarist. He left the band, maybe 10 years ago or so, and this is his band now. I don't know how much he plans on doing with it, but we'll see. Like I said, I haven't listened to it yet. I've heard a couple snippets online, and I thought it was okay. I mean, it's kind of metal by the numbers, but it's also pretty much in that vein of like Painkiller and Jugulator, which are like two of my top favorite Judas Priest albums. So I mean, I think it's cool that someone is playing music in that vein. And it even has Tim Ripper Owens on vocals, who was on the Jugulator album, which I absolutely love. So, like I said, I think I'll at least get some enjoyment out of it. It doesn't have to be album of the year material or whatever. It's if I just get a couple cool spins, out of it, I'll be happy. And here's a band that I've enjoyed quite a bit in the past, and I really I don't know why, but I kind of turned my back on them, or at least the later stuff. I think I'd really only been kind of occasionally listening to their early material, and not even really that often anymore. So I don't know. I guess I kind of have a newfound appreciation of them, and we're talking about Sweden's Catatonia with this 1997 EP. This one is not super easy to come by. This is Sounds of Decay. Came out on Avant-Garde Music. Digipack. You might recognize that cover. It's from a scene from a movie called Begotten, which is kind of a cool movie. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I think it's really cool for what it is. So, I just decided randomly one day that I wanted this. Found it on Discogs, ordered it, and yeah, really glad to have it. Like I said, it's not super easy to come by. I also picked up Night is the New Day. This is a repressing that just came out this year. I remember listening to this a good handful of times when it came out. When did it come out? 7, 8 years ago, something like that. and I really quite liked it. I mean, this is not the Catatonia of old. This is not the early Catatonia. I should probably mention this EP, by the way, is the last time that they would play like a doom death style. This is before they went to more of like a kind of prog rock metal, whatever you want to call it. So anyways, yeah. So Night is the New Day. It's a dark proggy kind of rock album. It's atmospheric and moody, and I really like it. I think it came out in 2009. I really haven't heard it like since then. So I just decided, local record store had it, and I decided I'd really like to listen to it again, and I'd really like to own it. So now I do. So yeah, it came out on Peaceville Records, and as well as their newest release. Knew nothing about this until I picked it up. This is a double disc, really nice digibook set. I don't even know how you pronounce this. Nemesinian. I'm going to say Nemesinian. Very cool cover, and like I said, these cool digibook things that Peaceville does. Always liked them. Yeah, 2 discs. This is pretty much material from some of their, not real early EPs, but like late 90s and into the early 2000s. It's got some of that EP stuff. A lot of that's hard to find. And then it's got, it's got some alternate mixes of certain songs and stuff like that. I'm sure a lot of it will just be kind of not anything that I really need to hear very often, but I mostly bought it for those EP tracks because, like I said, I don't have any of those, and they are sort of hard to find. So, really nice set, I gotta say. And random pickup on Discogs. This band I remember thinking was really cool when they first came out, and this album in particular, France's Balrog. And it's, as you can see, it's still sealed. Why, I don't know. Must have just been probably dead stock that somebody had sitting around. This came out on Holy Records in, no date. I'm going to say mid-2000s. So, yeah, I guess you can see from the hype sticker, for fans of Behemoth, Old Dissection, and Dark Funeral. I don't really remember hearing much Behemoth in the music. Old Dissection, maybe a little bit of that. A little Dark Funeral, sure. It's fast black metal, not super raw or anything like that. So if you like stuff like that, I just remember thinking it was a really cool album. But I think it was over 10 years ago when I heard it. So hopefully it holds up, but we'll find out, right? This one here is a total blind buy, completely and total blind buy. I never heard of this prior to picking it up at the record store the other day. It just looked intriguing to me, and every now and then I like blind buying shit. I didn't see that it came out on Napalm Records. I saw the Avant-Garde logo on there, and I was like, okay, Avant-Garde is a cool label. They typically put out good stuff. Napalm, however, nowadays they do not put out good stuff. So I would never I would never blind buy anything from Napalm Records these days. But this is just it's a one-man project. I don't really like that term, but whatever. One-man project out of the U.S. called Untamed Land. Just came out, I don't know, recently. Like creatures seeking their own forms. So, I guess you would call this a black metal album. And in that case, you would say it's black metal. It's kind of like summoning, if instead of doing those Tolkien kind of dungeon synthy themes, this is going in they're kind of replacing that with like spaghetti western soundtrack type stuff. As you can see, the dude here dressed like a cowboy. I gotta say, it's daring. There's not a lot of stuff out there like this. Agalloch kind of touched on that on the Mantle album, and then there's that band, is it Wayfarer on Profound Lore? They kind of do stuff like that as well. But I don't know if you would call this. I mean, this is even more. Like I said, this is way more into like the spaghetti western soundtrack territory. I think it's good. I don't know if it's my cup of tea necessarily, but I've only listened once, so I'm definitely going to give this multiple listens, and I really do I want this to grow on me. I just don't know if it will. But yeah, like I said, if you're a summoning fan, you might get into this. Just summoning with like Sergio Leone spaghetti western soundtrack music kind of mixed in there. People that are into, that real cinematic, black metal type stuff. If you're into summoning, which I love summoning. Or what was that? What was that kind of summoning-esque band from the U.S. out of Salt Lake City? Everyone really loved that album, and I wasn't super big on it, and I don't remember the name of the band. But if you like that, you might be able to get into something like this. What do we have next? We have another King Crimson album. I've been kind of working on, getting their whole discography. I've always loved King Crimson, but lately I've just been getting into them more and more. So this is one of their later albums. We got The Power to Believe, and I got this really nice 40th anniversary series. I don't know why they call it that, because this album came out, I think, in the 90s. I don't think this album is 40 years old. It's definitely not. It didn't come out in 81. This might have even been the early 2000s. I wish there was a definite date on here, but I think it was the early 2000s. Let's look at that artwork again. It's crazy. I love it. It's really cool. It's very powerful. They're intense. I haven't listened to the album yet. Comes in this kind of cool box, kind of a digipack on the inside. It's got 2 discs. There's the back. So it's got the album. And then it has, it's got a booklet too, of course. The other disc is a DVD so it's got the album on DVD with bonus tracks. So like it's got lossless 5.1 surround sound. I never listen to stuff like that because I don't have, I don't have the best stereo equipment. So that shit like that is kind of lost on me, but it might not be lost on you. I'm just gonna stick with the CD, but like I said, I haven't listened to it yet, but I'm super stoked. Picked up a couple of these Slayer remasters. So this one I've actually had this EP, Haunting the Chapel. I've had this for well over 20 years, but I lost the case. I lost the case a long time ago, and I've only just had the disc. So it's literally been bothering me. So I've really wanted to rebuy it. So yeah. Got this new repress, just basically for the case. So now I have a case and 2 Haunting the Chapel CDs. It's a little bit different on the back, as you can see, the layout's slightly different. The original CD, I think it was just black, so the CD looks different. Probably a different booklet, but same EP. Top-notch Slayer stuff. This might be their best material, to be honest. I fucking love it. And then a Slayer album that I have never owned, just kind of always wanted to get. Not much to say about this one, Live Undead. Classic live Slayer album. I have, what's that 2-disc, Decade of Aggression or whatever. I have that, but I've never had this, so cool to have it finally in whatever format. I've always seen this one usually on vinyl, but whatever, yeah. Glad to have it. I've always been a big Slayer fan. This EP I've always meant to get. I think this is the first official release of this band, like non-demo release, if I remember correctly, from back in '96 on Blackened Records and Death Records. We have the UK's Hecate Enthroned upon Prometheus Shores. If you don't know Hecate Throne, they are pretty much like a symphonic black metal band. They've always been compared to Cradle of Filth. I don't know, maybe because they're both from England. I guess they do kind of sound like Cradle of Filth, but less gothy, less symphonic, a little bit more than the black metal, I would say. But if you're going to compare it to any Cradle of Filth, the very early Cradle of Filth. So yeah, there you are. I don't like everything this band has done. Like a lot of bands like that, like Cradle of Filth, they would kind of get cheesier as they went along. But their early stuff is good. I really like the CP, and their first full length is honestly pretty good too. If you're a fan of symphonic black metal, I think you could do a lot worse. And I've been wanting to get. I've never really been huge into melodic death metal, but I do like some, and I have very little of it in my collection. So I've always wanted to get at least a little bit more melodic death metal. So I mean, these were random buys, but I still still hoping they would kind of scratch that melodic death metal itch that I only really occasionally get. But so pick this one up, and I have listened to it once, and it's pretty cool. Came out in '98 on Pulverized Records out of Sweden. This is Imperial Domain. This is their debut album. Yeah, it's melodic death metal, done well. Wait till you see these guys, though. CD, very cool CD. Look at the band photo. Holy fuck. They probably don't sound the way they look. I don't know. It's definitely melodic death metal. One thing about some melodic death metal that turns me off is when there's too much like clean vocals. I honestly don't want any clean vocals at all, even in my melodic death metal. That's kind of what I liked the early Insomnium stuff, but once and their recent albums have been very good too. But like once they started using tons of melodic or tons of clean vocals, I was just like, nope, I'm fucking done with this band, and I don't buy their releases anymore. So yeah, just going off the one listen, I don't remember there being any clean vocals on this, which is good. It's melodic death metal, very well played, and these guys are all really good musicians, lots of guitar solos and riffs, and yeah, man, if you like the first two Dark Tranquillity albums, the first two In Flames albums, you'll probably dig this. And you'll probably dig this as well. I remember this band from years back. Kind of always meant to check them out, but I just never did. I think these guys are from Sweden as well, but I really could be wrong. I think they're from Sweden. But we got Godgory. Weird name. And you might think, looking at that cover, that they're like a Christian metal band, but they're not. Their songs are definitely, about evil and blasphemy and perversion and anti-religion and stuff like that. So, there's yet another band that uses, religious artwork, which actually I think is kind of cool. It comes off as very blasphemous in my opinion. The reason I never really looked into this band back when they were, still kicking, is because this was kind of the era, like the late 90s, you would see, I don't know, late 90s is kind of when, this is Nuclear Blast, by the way, but late 90s, Nuclear Blast really started to kind of shit the bed, and you would see their releases everywhere, and they were just so forgettable, they've never really recovered, in my opinion, but, so I just kind of lumped this in with all the other late 90s Nuclear Blast garbage, and that's not to say, I haven't listened to all of this, by the way, but it's not to say that this is amazing or anything, but honestly, I do like it, and I think after giving it a couple spins, I think I'll like it more and more. I mean, in my opinion, this is just really good melodic death metal. So yeah, I'm glad I picked it up and finally gave the band a shot. And also been working on the Kansas catalog, because they're a band that I only really, as I've said, I only really got into them within the last couple years. This is Vinyl Confessions. I think this is the first album to feature John Elefante after Steve Walsh left the band. So this came out in '82. This CD version came out later. I think this came out in the '90s. So I think originally it just came out on vinyl, and yeah, it wasn't released on CD right away. So whatever, that doesn't really matter. But yeah, I haven't listened to it yet. But there you have it. And like I said, I got 2 vinyl records here, just prog stuff. Got a Vangelis album. I like Vangelis a lot. I haven't heard a lot of his stuff, to be honest. He has so much, and I have a little bit of it. Really like the dude. So this is Albedo 0.39. So this Vangelis, Greek musician. He has done a lot of movie soundtracks, as well as just albums. He also played on the Aphrodite's Child 666 album, which I think is one of the best albums ever made. So I know nothing about this at all. No, I don't even know when it came out. I'm looking for a date here. Okay, 1976. So this is an earlier album of his. Yeah, you guys like Vangelis? And last but not least, we have Curved Air with Phantasmagoria. Very beat up copy, but I always thought this was a pretty cool album. It's beat up, it's got its fucking name written on it. Great cover art though, right? Some dude just smoking a hookah. Yeah, this thing is totally split, but whatever. The album is good. So this came out in 1972. This is a British band, Prog band, obviously. Well, I guess not obviously, but if you've never heard them at all, I listen to a lot of Prog, and I've been listening to a lot of Prog lately, and they have quite a unique sound. There's a female vocalist; she's very good. They use a lot of kind of unorthodox instruments, as you know most prog bands do. You hear so much stuff on here. You hear, like, I'm pretty sure violins. There's keyboards, of course. My favorite parts on this album are when they're playing real jazzy, which kind of reminds me of the band Webb. I don't know if you guys are into Webb. I'm reminded of Webb at times, and I'm almost reminded of, like, at times maybe a little bit of Gentle Giant. They can also be kind of folky. So think maybe a little bit of Comus, maybe not as dark, but yeah, like I said, when I think they're playing to their strengths when they're playing like jazz rock. I think the jazz rock movements on here are great. Yeah, it's a pretty cool album. I haven't heard anything else they've done. So a dude from the Police used to be in this band. I think it was guitarist. I think it was Andy Summer. It might have been Stuart Copeland. It wasn't Sting. But that's how this band got on my radar. But anyways, yeah, very cool album. It wasn't easy for me to get into. I've heard it once or twice over the years, and since buying it, I've listened to it again, and I kind of like it a little more every time I hear it. So yeah, very cool. Anyone into Curb there? Should I get anything else? I don't know. I don't know if I'll get anything else from them, but I do like that album. And so that's all the music. I think I'm just going to take another minute or two here and go into my death metal shirts. Yeah, let's just do it. Got the Morbus Kron, Creepy Creeping Creeps. I bought this from Roy over at Necroharmonic 5 or 6 years ago. Morbus Kron, Swedish death metal band. They are no more, but they left behind a pretty cool discography, I think it's fair to say. This Pungent Stench, Blood, Pus, and Gastric Juice shirt off one of their earlier EPs. Great Austrian death metal. I think I got this from Hell's Headbangers 6-7 years ago, something like that. Also got this from Hell's Headbangers, probably less than 10 years ago. Slaughterlord. Mandatory. I was so glad to see this. Slaughterlord are a great Australian band. I've talked about them on this channel before. They are one of the earliest bands out of Australia to play like extreme metal, and they play like back then genres were kind of just blurring together, so they played like a Black Death thrash. There weren't genres hadn't really separated yet. Kind of like early Sepultura, early Bathory. List goes on, but yeah, those bands that they just played what they played, and it's just basically a combination of like thrash metal, like Slayer-esque thrash metal, primitive death metal, primitive black metal, Hellhammer, mix Hellhammer, Slayer, and Bathory together. And anyways, blah blah blah. Also got this from Necroharmonic, I think with that same order as that Morbus Kron shirt. This really cool Evoken long sleeve. Love Evoken. Great American doom death out of New Jersey, I believe. Very cool. I've worn this shirt so many times. One of my favorites. This is a more recent one. I think I bought this earlier this year. Everybody's favorite death metal band, Ruin, or at least they're one of my favorites. Especially out of the younger, well, I wouldn't call these guys young, but the current death metal bands, they are definitely one of my favorites. You saw the artwork. Very, very cool. Love it. Cardiac Arrest. I bought this directly from one of the members, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Just one-sided. Another one of my favorites. Pissgrave shirt. I actually did a trade with one of the guys in Pissgrave, one of the Mellon brothers. Yeah, he sent me the shirt, and I sent him some tapes. Also one of my favorites. Yeah, and then we got Crisian, one of the most, well-known and longest-running death metal bands out of Brazil. Conquerors of the Apocalypse, as you can see there. I bought this when I saw them live. What the hell was that? When I saw them live, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. One of the many Deicide shirts that I own here. Once Upon the Cross. I would fucking love this shirt. Also got this when I saw them live 5, 6 years ago. And last but not least, we have an Impetigo hoodie. Bought this directly from Mark, from the band. He got this from, he got a couple of these, probably 4 or 5 years ago as well. He got a couple of these from American Line, which is a label out of Mexico. This thing is pretty crazy. If you can see the sleeve design, you can imagine wearing that in public and getting some weird looks. Yeah, it's also on the other sleeve. And the back, it's got the artwork from the Primitives EP. Very awesome. Probably my favorite hoodie. So, yeah, anyways, that's all I got for now. Thanks for stopping by. Louis says hello. And there he is. Cheers, guys. Talk soon.